your darkest night. Hold on to the light, and please know, oh, you've got the victory. In my heart, I got the victory. On my job, in my family, I got the victory. In my relationship, I got the victory. When I pray every day, I got the victory. When I walk what I talk, when I practice, what I preach. When I trust in God, victory.
Good morning, heart and soul. Good morning. It is good to be back in the pulpit as the one to bring the message. And I mean just to bring it. Oh, thank you. It was a little foreign. I certainly have been here every week and introducing and doing the link, the segue to my dear brother. Let me just say thank you to Reverend Amon. Thank you, Reverend Amon, for blessing heart and soul as you have for the past 2 Sundays, and what a cadre of folks have been aware of, because we invited folks who have taken classes, because we knew that the prayer intensive with Reverend Amon facilitating it was really, you needed to come in at a certain level of awareness. And so he was with us for the past 2 Saturdays, and it turns out in the pulpit on Sunday. So I have had the blessing of being just doused, completely immersed in, splashed upon, all of that, the full receptivity of my spirit, grateful for his generosity of wisdom, of love, all of the good stuff. Thank you, my dear brother, Reverend Amon. Thank you. On this adventure in faith, it's what's required. We're going to have to call our friends into service on every level to support us, for us to support them, for us to be in. This is what community is. And that's what we are about at Heart and Soul. So we are truly on an adventure in faith. And this is I don't even know why I mark time like this. I guess I'm a fan of the calendar. Because I'm about to tell you that this is the last Sunday in March, which means that we're completing Women's History. And what I know for sure is that while we may not be playing the beautiful video that Reverend Sonia put together with the music that Valerie Joi Fiddmont composed and lead vocals and all, although we will not necessarily have that, throughout the year. And I say that because I reserve the right, I'm just saying, this Sunday completes our Sunday celebration of Women's History Month. And would you just look at the way that the order in the universe unfolds, so that so many of us were catching up on Judge Katani Brown Jackson. Yes? Yes, and so she has not been included so far, but my expectation is soon come. soon come will be absolutely a part of our women's history, our Black history, our lives. This is on so many levels answered prayer. Let's just be clear. Answered prayer. It is a historic nomination. I just have to tell you that, I'm a child of the 60s. And in 68, when I served as a youth member of the National Board of the YMCA. And as I was speaking and in board meetings then in 68 and 69, I really believed. I didn't have any thought of what 2022 would look like. I just didn't. If somebody had said, well, what about 2022? How would you even say the words? I just had nothing. There was no thought about a 2000, anything. But I knew that certainly before now, I thought way before now, we'd be over talking about first. I really did. I thought we'd have put that behind us because we'd be so accustomed to women everywhere where they made a credible contribution, which would be everywhere. And people of color, Black folks, I just had a different idea that in ending the first quarter of 2022, that I would be saying that Judge Jackson is the first Black woman nominated. And there's no way to get in a position without a nomination. So it's not like the nomination in this case is an exception. This speaks to the entire process. It's a nomination process. And so the first one nominated. What I love, though, is that President Biden said he sought a candidate with exceptional credentials, impeachable character, unwavering dedication to the rule of law, that he sought a nominee much like Justice Stephen Breyer, who is wise, pragmatic, and has a deep understanding of the Constitution as an enduring charter of liberty. He sought a judge committed to equal justice under the law, who understands the profound impact the Supreme Court's decisions can have on the lives of American people. And with that intention, he nominated Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. Come on, President Joe Biden. Our former president, mine for the rest of my life, President Barack Obama said, I congratulate Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson on her nomination to the Supreme Court. Judge Jackson has already inspired young Black women like my daughters to set their sights higher, and her confirmation will help them believe that they can be anything that they want to be. I relish in those times when we are given evidence, that the evidence reminds us that this idea that we are living in infinite possibility, because life can give us a sense that that's only for the dreamers. You got to be on something to stay in that consciousness of infinite possibility. Sometimes we go there like, why would you see how it is? Why would you still be thinking? Why would you still be dreaming? Why would you still be aspiring? Why would you still be affirming and declaring? Well, because it's true. I don't know what it will take. When I was younger, I really thought we'd laid the framework. I thought we'd made the necessary changes. And now I know we're not done. That we did do some of that. And change continues to happen. We are in constant change. I somehow just thought we were going to get to a point where we could kick back and let it run itself. I have been disabused of that. And I know that it's up to us. It's up to us to know something, and I want to just remind you. Now, well, it's a plug. Simultaneous to truth. And it is this idea that we have put on a t-shirt that it's not an accident. It's all vibration. So when President Obama says you can be, it's reminding the young'uns that they can be, because until we see it, many of us don't believe it. Now, there are always those folks who can see it even though they've not yet seen it demonstrated. But those are fewer than the folks who, once they see it demonstrated, they start setting their goal around it. It becomes a part of their vision board because they've seen it now. So it's not an accident. It's all vibration. And once we get that, I'm going to encourage you to get the t-shirt, because I'm thinking we need another critical mass awareness, a knowing that it's not accidental, that when these things that are happening that we're loving, or the things that are happening that we're not loving, that they're not accidental. It's not that the universe has slipped out of balance, that order is no longer present. It's that the vibration for the outcome is absolutely, well, it's the mental, emotional, spiritual equivalent is what you're seeing in every case. And that, all of that, the mental, emotional, and spiritual is vibrational. And then what you get is an outpicturing of that vibration. So look, it's not an accident, it's vibration. And watch this. Judge Jackson stood out as a high achiever throughout her childhood. See, I'm wanting to set us straight. Anybody who's left with an idea like she just slid in there. She was a speech and debate star who was elected mayor of her junior high, and was student body president of the Miami Palmetto Senior High School. But like many black women, Judge Jackson still faces naysayers. When she told her high school guidance counselor that she wanted to attend Harvard. Now, the interesting thing about this is that as a black woman, there's not a group of folks that I could have brunch, lunch, dinner, or snack with that could not add to this story, where we have shared with someone a vision for our lives, someone we trusted, someone we thought was there to support us in the vision, someone that we thought that if I have the vision and I raise it up to them, they will help me to see it more clearly. But invariably, we've been told, that vision for you? I'm sorry, I don't want you to get hurt. Let's shine that light a little dimmer. You're going to blind people. Scale that back some. You're doing too much. You're doing too much. You'd be just fine doing what I can see you doing. What I've seen others who look like you and have your kind of resources or background or whatever it is I'm limiting my vision to, the folks that I have seen like you be just fine. You don't have to do all that. You're doing too much. The guidance counselor cautioned her to not set her sights so high. Some people see the ministerial, their pastor position, in a similar way as a guidance counselor. Well, let me just go and say, go ahead, set your sights high. In fact, that's what's required. And then continue to update them. Set it high, and then review it from time to time and see if we can't scoot it even higher. And I say that because what's the alternative? Dumb it down? Restrict it? Bring it down? Hide it under a bushel? No. So it turns out, as we know now, because, there's so many of us who don't live in the region where she is, so we didn't necessarily know about her before. Many did and do. But here's the bottom line. She did go to Harvard. She's continued to keep her sights high. Come on with that. She went to Harvard, graduated magna cum laude. She then attended Harvard Law School, where she was an editor of the Harvard Law Review, and then graduated from there cum laude. So not only went, but wore it out. I'm just saying. Wasn't just there, and you had to check the roll to see that she was. She was there showing out, letting her light shine bright. Now, I know it sounds like I'm talking about her, but y'all know how I do. I'm talking about us. I'm talking because there's only one of us. So there is that aspect of her that is in each and every one of us. Not that we're going to be on the Supreme Court. We're not. There's not enough seats. But there's something that we are not yet considering because someone has looked at us like, not that. That's a little too much. You're a little too loud, a little too bright, just too much. So I've come today to say, let all that much out. Come on, do that. But I also have to say, and, there are those who say, well, Rev, you can stop preaching, and now you can start talking about some other views around this because I feel like I can't move forward with this without saying that I'm also wanting to just bust up a myth. And it's the myth of affirmative action because we have lost our minds around affirmative action and the way we're talking about it now. Because when we first began having the conversations, and I was present in some of those, I was around in that time, so that's not hearsay, but it was to really to set the balance in a way. It was to set right what we realized was wrong, that there were systems in place that were working in ways to keep folks out entirely, that they had no opportunity. And so I don't have time. I don't even have the information available to talk about the whole system. But so that started working. And folks who had not been able to have access began to have access. And many of us are doing what we've been able to do because those doors, the foot was stuck in. They put something in there and left the door ajar. I don't recall there was ever a time where they just swung the door open and hooked it open so everybody could get in. But the little opening left enough for the people who had the skills and the wherewithal and all that it took to kind of squeeze by and get in. But now the myth is that the folks who have benefited from affirmative action are not qualified. I've come to bust the myth. Because invariably they're overqualified. The most qualified. The difference is that now the most qualified can get in. Now, as you say it, what kind of game is that? That the most qualified athlete can now be in the tryouts. That the most qualified, because look at here. When you look at Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, at her record, no Supreme Court justice, not nominee, has served in so many capacities. So in the vernacular, sister comes packing. Ask somebody what I mean. Sister comes packing. She's not just showing up like, I think I can squeeze in on the qualifications. She is head and shoulders above just in terms of all that she has already done. Lord. And you see it there on the screen. There is no sitting Supreme Court justice who has been a judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals, has been a judge on the U.S. District Court, has been vice chair of the U.S. Sentencing Commission, has been a public defender, and a Supreme Court clerk. Remember some years ago, I had a little mic beautiful mic that I was gifted that I could just from time to time just drop it. This is Cedar mic. Because you just want to go, you want to have a moment to let that sink in, to see just how insane our policies have been and will continue being unless we imagine justice, unless we imagine other outcomes. So look, Senator Cory Booker just upped the stock for clinics and tissue. Because, I understand that the chambers were full of people with tears and at home and all of that. Part of what he said that struck me was this country is getting better and better and better. Now watch what happens in your mind, though. Because you have the option of either coming up with evidence that what he said isn't true. Come on now. You caught yourself. That was a little pop quiz. And it's only between you and you. You know where you went. So if when I read his words, this country is getting better and better and better, if somewhere in you were saying, what you talking about, Rev? You're going to have to stay after. We're going to have to do a little something extra. You understand what I'm saying? But if, on the other hand, when I read his words, this country is getting better and better and better, you were in the realm of, praise God. Yeah, sure enough. Whether you see all the evidence, see, it doesn't, where you are in mind, your availability to it has nothing to do with whether there is evidence to the contrary or evidence supporting it. It's where are you going to go? You stand there choosing. What are you going to feel about this? It's up to you to decide how you feel. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life. It's up to you how good you feel about it. Come on, Branice and Tammy.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good, yeah, feeling good, yeah, yeah.
fish in the sea, you know how I feel. River running free, you know how I feel. Blossom on the tree, you know how I feel. It's a new day, it's a new dawn, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good, yeah, yeah.
Dragonfly in the sky, you know how I feel, don't you know? Butterflies running free, you know how I feel. Sleep in peace when day is done, and it's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good. Stars, when you shine, you know how I feel.
Scent of the pine, you know how I feel.
Freedom is mine, and I know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good. Feeling good, feeling good. I'm feeling good.
Oh, heart and soul. So that was actually Valerie Joi Fiddmont, Branice McKenzie, and Tammy Hall. Yes. Oh, giving thanks for our heart and soul ministry. Nina Simone's feeling good. Yes. It's up to us. It's up to us what you're going to feel about anything. Anything at all. Pardon me. And I'm feeling good. Can I just get in your business for just a moment? Because I know I don't typically do that. Find something to feel good about. The world does not have an obligation to bring good to your doorstep so you can feel good. Because sometimes we kind of act like I am only going to feel good if y'all act like I want you to act. If you do if the pundits are saying what I want to hear, if the neighbors are doing what I want them to do, if the community feels like I need it to feel, if this, if that, if the other thing, just find you something in all that so that you can feel good. You know, feeling good in the context that I'm speaking of it, is not to be taken lightly. Because if you don't feel good about something, no offense, but you're not going to be much good to us. Because the work that must be done from an energetic place where if you don't feel good enough to do your part, we're not going to get the thing done in the way that it's designed. Does that make sense? If not, think about it. It'll come to you. Look, I have been, Lord. So look, in this idea of feeling good, I'm just going to kind of drop kick Galatians 6 and 9. And let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not, if we don't fall out, if we don't decide we don't feel well enough to, if we don't decide we can't if we don't decide that it's all set up against us and that's why we're not participating, if we don't quit before we even try, is the idea here. I just want to say feeling good has a benefit in the work of the people. And the people's work is essential. So let us not get weary in the work that is ours to do and the way that we are called to be. Let us not just wear ourselves out in thinking about how hard, difficult, challenging it is, yes? So on Saturday, yesterday, oh Lord, so much life has happened since then. I'm talking about 24 hours ago, and I was trying to figure out anyhow. Reverend Amon shared a scripture in John with us in the prayer intensive, and one of the participants, let me just say, thank you, Sheila. One of the participants actually brought up another similar scripture that has another portion in it that I'm going to get to. And I wanted to, her comment kind of haunted me that sometimes when we talk about some of the healings or this particular miracle of healing on the part of the master teacher Yeshua that the world ultimately came to call Jesus, that we kind of maybe harp too much or put too much focus on the point. In this particular scripture in Mark 9, it happens a little later, but let me set up the story. That first of all, in Mark, at the very beginning of Mark 9, it's verse 2. We know that the master teacher, Yeshua, has been away for 6 days. And I just want to drop this lug real quick, that he took Peter and James and John with him up on the high mountain, and he had an experience there that I'm not talking about today. So I'm trying to manage my words and my attention so I don't end up giving a talk that I'm not here to give. And but now they've come down. But what I need you to know is those three names, Peter, James, and John. Because all of the disciples, all of the disciplines that are being represented have corollaries. And so we know, many of us know right away, when you think about Peter, you're talking faith. When you think about James, you're thinking wisdom. And when you think about John, you're thinking love, when you're talking about the disciples. So I need us to start here just real quick so we have a place of common understanding. So the master teacher is off with wisdom, love, and faith. And the other disciples are in the town, and they're doing what he has taught them to do. So now they return. And when they return, the first thing that shows up here, and let's be clear, this is not recorded history. So, this is not a story from tip to toe. It's catching the pieces that somebody decided they wanted to tell in the way they wanted it told. But no matter what they did with it, within it is the metaphorical gem that allows us to see something else. Yes? So they're now back, and they are among the people. And when they get there, it is said that there's a great crowd among them. And the scribes are debating with them. And the scribes are, in a way of speaking, we would say that the scribes are the ones who are to interpret and execute the church's doctrine, the rules. They're the ones who are disciplining the folks. They're like, no, you can't do that. And no, that's wrong. What it says is this. This is the way it goes. And yes, keep doing more of that. Follow what she's doing. Don't do what he's doing. They're doing that. So the master teacher is said to have asked them, so, what's going on here? Now, no, don't get off point. Okay. So there's a man in the crowd who answers. Now, to me, there's something about each of these pieces. Why is he the one answering? Why isn't there somebody in authority who's then going to say, we over here handling this bit of business? Or why isn't one of his own disciples saying, here's what's going on here, master, because we blew it and they upset because they don't know why we can't do what we here supposed to do. But he's not the one. There's a man who is unnamed and unnumbered in any way. It's just a certain man. Says that talks about his son who is dumb in spirit, who has seizures. He's saying, I brought my son who cannot speak and he's wasting away to your disciples for healing, and they were unable to heal him. So why can't the boy be healed? Because the master teacher has taught his disciples how to do the healing. That's what they were there doing. So they're healing some, but they couldn't heal him. So I'm really interested in this man because there's a cry of despair from the crowd. See, I'm interested in the fact that you got the crowd and the one person who speaks up is like, over here, here's what's happening. And I'm not convinced that that's necessarily all that they were talking about, or that was, even if that was the subject, that he had the way to frame it. But there was something in him, hear me now, there was something in him that said, come on, Judge Katanji, come on, let us see that there is a bright light someplace that insists upon being present. Being present. So even in his despair, even in his challenge, he's the one who speaks. And the master teacher is said to have said, well, bring him to me. And they brought him. And when they brought him, it said that he immediately convulsed in seizures. Now, there are those Bible scholars who would connect that with the book of Enoch and say that that all had to do with a certain level of healing and how other spirits would respond in the presence of the divine master teacher, but I'm not here to talk about any of that part of it. He asked him, how long has he been like that? And he said, well, since he was a little boy. And it's even been worse. Sometimes he throws himself into the fire or into the water. And it's just, you can see how that must be. I mean, any of us can be just like, oh, Lord, no, not the child. And what a life that must be for the family. And so the father says, if you could help, if you were, if you could heal him, that would be like a good thing, if you could. But hear the way I'm phrasing this. He says, if you could heal him. And the master teacher's response is, if you were able to believe. So the thing is, if if you could just, if you could. He said, well, if you were able to believe, everything, because everything is possible to the one who believes. So if we go if, come on, heart and soul. If you could believe. I know you waiting on some other if. If Congress could just, if law enforcement could just, if the prison system could just, if the education system, if the local schools, if the unions, if the, if you could believe. If you could just believe, though, everything. Isn't that what the way it? Check out a few different translations. The idea is still everything, all things are possible to the ones who could do that. So if we go if, and immediately it said, and this is what came up in the prayer intensive. Immediately, it is said that immediately the father of the boy cried out, weeping, and said, I believe, my Lord. Help thou my lack of belief. Help thou my unbelief. And I'm wanting to make sure we get that this is not self-condemnation. When we pull over and park here, we're not blaming folks for not having, because one, I'm not convinced there are really degrees of faith. I'm just saying, you either wet or you're not. How wet you are, I don't know who can discern that. When it comes to faith, you either faith or you not. And so he is. And we know that because what? What are y'all talking about? What's going on here? Over here. We get my son healed. That's what we're trying to do. Come on. Because if you could just, you're like, if. Well, if you could just believe, the thing could be done. And he's like, I feel that. Because I believe. But you see, where I want us to be aware is that you see, unlike we're in the season now where things are beginning to bud. The buds, and we know we're looking forward to the blossom. And don't you love it when we can anthropomorphize nature? And so you see the magnolia bud, or you see the rose bud, or you see whatever the bud is that you see in your neighborhood or your backyard or on the street. And we would never imagine that the bud is looking at the one that has already blossomed and said, why I got to be the bud still? Why can't I be the bloom? Because it's required just the way it is. So Brahman is really giving us an opportunity to see ourselves, to see where our faith falls short of exactly what's required. It's not our season quite yet. Now, this is not I'm not offering you a place to hide where you don't do, because it's hard to say this without a little judgment. Oh, Lord. Were we in those situations when we haven't done what we're supposed to do? We left home half hour after we were supposed to be there. And we get there late and say, oh, it's because we missed whatever. We left 30 minutes after the appointed time. And we get there and we missed whatever it was that was there 30 minutes ago. And we announce in the most spiritual way, it must not have been for me. Well, it must not have been for you arriving 30 minutes after the thing was due to have. Don't try me. We don't know if it was or wasn't. We know you didn't get it. But I want to be sure you know this ain't that. I'm not talking about you just like trying to control and rearrange all the laws and order in the universe that you just get what you get because you want to get it and don't have to follow. So I'm off topic now. Okay, so look at here. Look at here. So the Father, I believe, help thou my unbelief. Help thou that part of me that's beat up so bad. Help that part of me that watched the hearings, the confirmation hearings, and couldn't hear that none of that mattered. Help that part of me that really got myself worked up because there was some foolishness. I believe, help thou my unbelief. That part of me that got pissed off, my blood pressure shot up, that part of me that it disturbed my meal wasn't rightfully digesting on account of the way I let them get to me. The way I let some mess, some foolishness, some stuff that isn't even true work. Am I the only, is this any of this making sense? Somebody gonna have to put something in the chat. Whether this is making sense. Come on now. Help thou my unbelief. I believe, which is why I was tuned in. You see what I'm saying? That's why I was tuned in and Googling simultaneously. But even so, I found myself tripping. Help thou my, I got this part. Help that part that I let wear me out. That I let interfere with the next thing that could have my attention if I knew I could just be feeling good. If I was willing to go with the divine flow of the thing that as I understand it, but instead I'm stuck in the unbelief part. See, we can't afford the self-condemnation because we haven't yet achieved. Didn't I say in 68, 69? I just knew. I hadn't picked a year. But I knew it wouldn't be 2020 when we'd be talking about the first nothing. The first black woman. What? No. They plenty of them. They'd have to be. Can you imagine if it was like a Back to the Future moment? Oh, my face would just stay screwed up. Just, how could this be? All that marching we did? All the jail, all the programs, all the what? It can't be. Help thou my unbelief. Come on now. Because this is all of us. This isn't just this one man that we can point to historically who just didn't get it. This is an aspect of all of us. And see, this isn't even about the whole healing. Because you know the master, you know the rest of it. The master teacher commanded out the spirits and they thought the boy was dead because while he'd been seizing and foaming at the mouth and carrying on, there was a lot of activity with this little youngin'. We've seen them. We've seen people with their youngins who just can't keep still. And we know our reaction just to that. So this is an extreme of that. Someone literally in seizures, not just kinetic in that sense, hyperkinetic in that way. But when the master teacher has done his healing, has been the vibrational influence on it, it is said that he was so still they thought he was dead. Until he reached out and took his hand, and the boy got up. See, I felt like I just had to I may as well tell the rest of it. And then there's that moment where the master teacher is with the disciples. This is just to round it off. It's not really part of the talk. I'm probably going to go there a little bit, though. Is where the disciples are now, why we couldn't do it? Why you leave us there? I'm going to say, without love, without wisdom, without faith. Remember, he returned with those disciples, with those attributes, with those capacities. So there was something that had to unfold this way. When we look at these stories, even in the fairy tales and in mythology and in the fables, you got to set them up just right. They got to be set up just right. They have to have just the right elements and not have certain elements. Because if they got all the elements, then it's not going to make sense that it's working that way. So in this case, what happens to particularly make sense to me is they're returning with love and wisdom and faith. So I'm like, what was y'all using to heal? And I'm not saying that some stuff couldn't have happened, but we're not talking no major deep healing. And so the disciples are inquiring about, why couldn't we do it? He said, well, this kind. And Reverend Amon brought us a message around that. This kind requires prayer and fasting. And however you see prayer and fasting, and Reverend Amon supported us with that, I'm going to today just kind of put an umbrella over it and a broader sense around it. And acknowledge that what we're really talking about is focused attention, clear intention, and then focused attention on the clear intention. Because I don't know about the rest of you, but I fasted. I've done extended fast. But I've also been fasting and then found food in my mouth. Now, if you haven't ever fasted, you don't know what I'm talking about. How you call that a fast, preacher? If you got food in your mouth. Well, I started out without a clear intention. I started out fasting and then had lunch. And realized during the lunch, I was no longer fasting. This is why, I'm trying to tell you that in the human condition, there are those ones that you can't do that. Now see what, this was just my fast. I wasn't out there. Nobody was depending on my fast directly as a dot-to-dot corollary. I had no agreement with anybody but me. But I think we're often in the world in agreement, and we don't have a clear intention to do what we said we go do and be what we said we going to be. So we just kind of in and out of it, wondering why it's not working. Because you're not on point. Because you're not crystal clear, because you're not focused, because you're not doing the right thing. You're not being in alignment with what is required for the kind of outcomes that you have determined or that your heart desires. That your heart desires. I'm going to close with this, I think. Oh, Lord. Well, I'm close. No. Okay. All right. So, nope. When we look at sometimes what the logical, for us, for each individual, the logical flow, there's another word I want, unfolding of the situation circumstance. We're always jumping to a conclusion because there are dots that we're connecting. We act like the universal divine dots. They're not, they are dots. And we say, this happened, and this happened, and this happened. Well, then this is what's going to happen. But look, here's what I want you to know. is that to the extent that we are if you believe, come on, if you, I know if I, but if you believe, all things are possible. So, an excerpt from from communication from some conservatives and those appointed to positions in Republican administrations. An excerpt I'm going to share with you. As lawyers and others who have served in appointed positions in Republican administrations or hold conservative political or legal views, we write to urge the speedy confirmation of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to serve on the Supreme Court. Many of us know her personally, have appeared before her, or have served in legal organizations with her. Now, if this were happening 10, 20 years ago, I don't know that it would be worth reading. But we have created by our own vibrational consciousness such partisanship that this is now noteworthy. That you got some folks crossing the aisle to say, wait, hold up. I'm going to have to say something here. I'm going to have to, what's going on here? I'm going to have to be like the man in the crowd. Look, over here, there's some mess going on. I'm going to need some help with some healing, some attention on this. And so they're writing to say, while some of us might differ concerning particular positions she has taken as a judge, we are united in our view that she is exceptionally well qualified. Given her breadth of experience, demonstrated ability, and personal attributes of intellect and character, indeed, we think that her confirmation on consensus basis would strengthen the court and the nation in important ways. I believe, help thou my unbelief. Because there are too many of us who would not have imagined that that was in the mail. Electronic or otherwise. But I'm wanting us to expand our imagination to include beyond what we think isn't possible to our heart's desires. We are moving, this from my heart to yours, we are moving forward together as harbingers of faith. And I know from time to time we're going to cry out, I believe, help thou my unbelief. But it won't be all the time. It won't be everyone. Don't worry. And you know, I was thinking about Bobby McFerrin. And the little ditty, you know, don't worry, be happy. This ain't exactly that, but it's in the feeling good. You see what I'm saying? You can't get the stuff done if you're worrying. It brings nothing. In fact, it deteriorates whatever spiritual principle you're working on. Your worry is like rust. It's eating away at whatever it is you are establishing. We're moving forward together in faith. And we can't afford to have you bringing worry on the trip. We're going to have to drop our worry and be willing to know something. This country is getting better and better and better. I love that he didn't just say it's getting better. You know what I'm saying? I'm a word girl in that respect. He could have just said this country's getting better. Gone on off. But no, this country's getting better and better and better. How sweet it would be Nina Simone sang a song, I wish I knew how it would feel to be free. That's on us to begin feeling free, begin imagining freedom. She says, if I found I could fly, I'd soar to the sun and look down at the sea. I'd sing 'cause I know how it feels to be free. This time I mean it and I'm accurate when I say, come on, Branice and Tammy. Bring us, I wish I knew how it would feel to be free.
I wish I knew how it would feel to be free. I wish I could break all these chains that are holding me. I wish I could say all the things that I should say. Say 'em loud, say 'em clear for the whole world to hear. I wish I could share all the love that's in my heart. Remove all the bars that keep us apart. And I wish that you could know what it means to be me. Then you'd see and agree that every man and woman should be free. I wish I could give all I'm longing to give. I wish I could live like I'm longing to live. I wish I could do all the things that I can do. Though I'm way overdue, believe me, I'm starting anew. I wish I could be like a bird in the sky. How sweet it could be if I found that I can fly. I'd soar to the sun and look down at the sea. And I sing 'cause I know, yeah, I sing 'cause I know. I sing 'cause I know, yes, I know how it feels. Lord knows I am free.
As we center ourselves for our closing prayer, I want to read this excerpt from Frederick Bale's book, Healing the Incurable, in which he says there are undreamed of depths to the human mind. The answer to every problem lies hidden there somewhere in its deep levels. But humanity becomes panicky. The winds of his surface emotions whip up our conscious mind until our true knowledge has no chance to assert itself. Our true knowledge is robbed of its opportunity to assert itself. Then, having made a mistake, he has less confidence in his judgment next time, and the vicious cycle repeats itself. During all this time, the knower rests quietly within him, and at any point would have guided his judgment so long as he did not give way to fear. For the thing that is twisted and tangled to our panicky human view is a straight line to the infinite knower, stretched in smiling repose. You know, that smiling repose, that notion is from Ralph Waldo Emerson. And so I just ask you to join me in an awareness and recognition that the infinite knower is stretched in smiling repose, available, welcoming. So in recognizing the infinite knower, I recognize that it's everywhere, always present. That as A Course in Miracles says, God is in everything I see because God is in my mind. So in my mind, I see the divine living me living the life of the divine, breathing me. The divine is breathing me. I see me breathing the breath of the divine. And I see this for everyone. I recognize right where I am, perceiving through my own means of perception that this is simply true. I'm recognizing that this is how it's all working in the world. That each and every one of us is being breathed even as we are breathing. That each and every one of us is being lived even as we are living. That each and every one of us is in joy even as joy is in us. Oh, I'm giving thanks for this awareness, for this divine recognition. Because it is in this recognition that is also revealed to me the divine unification, that I am one in all that is. That God is in everything I see because God is in my mind. God is in me. I am in God. God is in me. I am in God. God is in me. I am in God. That there is only one. Not when it's convenient to me to declare God is all there is, but that I have a responsibility for discerning God in all as all. And that once I do that, that gives me access to discern the truth of my being in everything. I'm giving thanks this day, this moment, for Judge Katanji, that she brought receipts, that we could see without any doubt or question the truth of the situation. And so I'm applying this morning the law of transitivity, that we might gather our own receipts in our own lives, in our own dreams, in our own visions, in our heart's desire that we might gather the evidence of our worthiness, of our qualification, of our divine deservability, of our willingness to be the one who is among the ones who are. I'm in joy this morning because I believe and my unbelief has been helped, has been lessened, so that I am willing to stand knowing some outcomes that have not yet unfolded. I'm not waiting to the unfoldment before I can declare it good. I'm declaring it from right where I stand now in attention, with my attention on my intention. I am knowing that some outcomes can be known by me before they unfold. Father, I believe. Help thou my unbelief. Help thou my doubt. Help thou my flippity-floppity nature. Help me know that right where I am, the whole perfect and complete nature of the divine is. And that in gratitude and thanksgiving for that brought me here, that fuels me, breathing me, loving me, living me now, that allows me to see something beyond this now moment, within me now, available to me. I give thanks. I give thanks for every barrier released, for every lock opened, for every perceived limitation removed. It is an absolute perfect gratitude for the perfect unfoldment of the law, of the love of the divine active in my life and in all life, that I give thanks. And it is in this attitude of gratitude and thanksgiving that I release this word into the perfect activity of law. I know, and I know that it's not possible for this word to return void. It cannot happen. So I let it be. Sealing this for all eternity, I simply say Ashe, Amen, and so it is. Ooh, love matters.